Hello everybody and welcome to another installment of Bigfoot Tales, and today we're going to look at the question of where does Bigfoot live? There's a lot of discussion over there around as to what Bigfoot is, and it can only encompass a being that is one of three different entities. One of those is purely paranormal or spiritual in being. My tendency is to believe that this is not correct, for the obvious reason that if something is merely not physical, it can't leave tracks. It can't leave hair. It can't do things that are physical if it is not a physical being. So I rule this avenue of discussion moot for most intents and purposes. I don't believe Bigfoot is a spiritual being in any way, shape, or form. I think it is a physical being, and as it is a physical being, there's only one of two options available to us. Number one, Bigfoot is an animal, or number two, Bigfoot is a human. We have a lot of controversy lately surrounding the issue, mostly surrounding, of late, the Melba Ketchum argument, as to their supposition that Bigfoot is a human being. They supposedly have DNA tests available. They haven't made any of that public yet. I'm not really sure whether there actually is any test or if it's just something that they're claiming. They're taking their sweet time about getting it out. And that's actually the way that it usually works in academia. It normally takes a long time for studies to be reviewed by peers before being put forth as factual or fanciful. Usually if it's put forth as fanciful, it immediately goes into the realm of fiction and dissident theories and studies that usually is not given any credence to at all in the field. On the other hand, if the peer review does prove that this is actual DNA that proves that Bigfoot exists and is a human, then we have another whole issue that we have to talk about. So we're going to be looking at this question, where does Bigfoot live, as to whether he's an animal or a human. And we're going to look at a couple of different things here. And what you're looking at as we go along here is this is actually a SD film from 2009 that I had my camera mounted on my dash when I was in the western Maine mountains. I've narrowed down several places in the state that I think have a very high probability of locating some valid evidence for this creature's existence. But unfortunately, we're only going to find that existence if that creature is there at that time. So what I have done, and much of what you're going to see here is just touching on the edges of my research. There's a lot of stuff that I'm not sharing here, so you may have some questions that are going to remain unanswered. And those are going to continue to remain unanswered because at this point in time I do not wish to share some of the information, such as exact locations of where some of this is. I will share evidence and theories and supposition from time to time in support of one of my findings. But suffice it to say that there are several locations around the state of Maine that I think have a higher than average percentage of being able to find substantive evidence of the existence of this creature. In this area that you're going to be seeing coming up through here where I'm going in western Maine, some of you that are familiar with that area may recognize where it is, and if that's where the case, then you'll know where I'm going to be hunting for Bigfoot this coming summer season. Unfortunately, the vehicle that I currently own doesn't have much of a clearance, so it's not a very good winter car for going out into the woods and parking off-road. So, unfortunately, limiting my searches to the fair weather months, as are most people. But where is Bigfoot's home? Obviously, it's in the woods, but why is it that we cannot find it? Um, the obvious answer here is that Bigfoot does not actually make homes. Bigfoot is a wild creature that roams through the woods and sleeps where he will. There are some people that have put forth discussion in theory that Bigfoot makes nests, much like the chimpanzees do, the great apes. Will do that, some species of them. Others will just curl up in a crotch of a tree and doze off. But there are many different species that will actually pile up leaves and grass and make a soft spot to bed down for the night. Now, there are people that consider that Bigfoot is a higher primate, obviously, and that it is actually a member of the ape family. And many people are under the assumption that this Bigfoot is actually a direct descendant of the extinct ape known as Gigantopithecus, Gigantopithecus blacki, in more succinctly put. I kind of have some doubts about this for many different reasons that we'll get into in another episode of Bigfoot Tales, but my findings and suggestions here are that what we're actually dealing with is a creature or being that is more probably considered to be migratory in nature. And we have to stop for a minute here and define the term of migration. Many people, when you talk about migration, is they think about the birds in the spring and the fall when they have their seasonal migrations. And some people think that when I say that Bigfoot is migratory in nature, that they head south for the winter and head north for the summer months. But this really isn't the case. There are too many sightings where Bigfoot has been seen in the northern climes during the wintertime. So we can reasonably assume, based upon the seasonal sightings that we've had across the northern tier of the United States and Canada, that is not a seasonally migrational being, but it does migrate. And why does it migrate? It migrates in much the same way that the ancient Indian tribes used to migrate. And they would travel to stay with their food sources. It's perfectly logical to assume that. They're not agricultural in nature. And they tend to be, at least according to reports, omnivorous, which means that they not only eat meat or wild game, but they eat fruits and vegetables and roughage. So they're going to have to travel in a manner that allows them to follow the seasonal food patterns. For instance, I believe that they tend towards, in the springtime, the riverbanks, the low water areas, where they have plenty of protein food sources by way of spawning fish that are going upstream, freshwater mollusk beds along the coast. You may find situations where they may go out into clam flats and eat harvest clams. And there's the green foliage that usually starts to grow along the low areas where it's warmer and it has more moisture and it gets the sunlight. Because usually you'll find that foliage grows faster along the riverbanks, obviously because it has more water. So I think in the early spring, if we're going to be looking, we should be looking more towards the rivers and waterways of this nation for evidence and signs of this creature's existence. I think as summer goes by, we're going to find that they're going to move further inland, where the berries and various nuts and shoots start to grow up, and after the spring birthing season, we start to see a growth of wild animals, from rabbits to deer and bear and any other creature in between, whereas um, they give birth in the early spring or the winter months. As the summer goes, the animals get bigger and they get a little tastier and a little bit more of shall we say, tempting object of food recovery. And then as the seasons go on, I think you're going to find them going more towards the hardwood areas, where you're going to find more browse in the way of leaves and nuts, things like that. The older animals are going to be harvested. And I think you're going to start to see, as the winter months go, you'll see them heading up into the areas where animals tend to congregate and herd up. So I think if we learn where the various areas where game tends to congregate, and where the foliage, whatever part of the country you grow in, whatever that might be, will tend to grow in, learn what the seasons are, and how to follow them. Um, I think one of the problems that we have when we're Bigfoot hunting is that, for the most part, from what I've seen at least, I'm sure there are many, many more people out there that don't try to go for the shock and awe prospect of putting up Bigfoot videos, but they're not actually hunting. They're actually just going out on a trail and hoping they run across something. And that's not a very good way to find what you're looking for. If you really want to find what you're looking for, you have to hunt them. You have to hunt them down. And to do that, you have to learn as much about your prey that you can. A detective doesn't find his criminal by riding around in a squad car and hoping to see him. He learns everything he can about the case and about the person that they believe may have done the crime. And then they accumulate evidence and clues and track the prey down, and they hunt them and catch them, toss them in jail, prosecute them, and send them back to Mexico. But I'm sure you get the gist of what I'm trying to say here. To be a Bigfoot hunter, you actually have to learn how to hunt. If you don't know how to hunt, then you're not going to find what you're looking for. And I think this coming year, I'm planning on doing a few hunts. If there are anybody that lives in Maine and might be interested in going, drop me a line, and we'll see if we can hook up and maybe do some things. But by following clues and accumulating evidence and paying very close attention to some of the stories, the legends, the folklore of what's going on around the state, I've actually uncovered quite a few incidences that never really made the mainstream news about Bigfoot. A lot of people, it's very rarely spoken of today. For instance, back in 70 or 71, there was a sighting in the town of Bridgeton, Maine, which is in the western part of the state, up towards the area of Freiburg, if you're not from Maine, up almost near where the White Mountains are. And apparently a long white hair was found. I'm not really sure what the details of that story are. I recently latched on to that clue a few days ago, and I've been trying to find somebody that might be able to shed a little light on that and what it was all about. Was it a hoax or not? I do know that there was a Bigfoot hunter from Washington State that came all the way from that state to conduct a search after hearing about it. And eventually I'll iron out the details of that little story too. But here we are. We've gone off onto the secondary roads, and we're getting a little bit closer to the area, or one of the areas that I'm going to be hunting in this coming summer. Um, and it's not going to be an easy one. And when I point it out to you, you'll know exactly why. But I found tracks. I found places where something rather large had been picking browse off of trees. There are some places where they might have Bigfoot possibly might have had some luncheon, and various things like that. Possible stick structures, signs here and there around the woods. But I didn't find those by going out in the night and pounding on a tree. I did those by spending a lot of time going here and there, doing research in the books, and learning, and finding out exactly what kind of a creature it is that I'm looking for. You can see just over the trees there the mountain that I'm heading for. And there's one particular spot here coming up where you'll see the exact place where I'm going. And it's a rather awesome shot. It actually shows up better in real life than it does here on this SD footage. I actually took this on a older camera that has a magnetic tape. But that was back in 2009, before I got my digital cameras. And I'm also getting some new equipment this year, hoping to be able to find some affordable stuff and do a few night hunts possibly. But to get back to the topic, where is the home of Bigfoot? Of course, we don't know that there is a home. We don't know if they have a place where they congregate to. And in an upcoming video, I'm going to be discussing a little bit of my findings on the historical sightings across North America, dating back to the 1500s, and some of the interesting stories that I found. And I think you'll be somewhat surprised, and many of you are going to be doubtful of the findings that I'm going to be sharing at that particular time, because some of what I have to say throws the generally accepted definition of what a Bigfoot is into the wind. Again, many people seem to think that he's a descendant of a Gigantopithecus, but I have my doubts about that for many, many reasons. Most of them have to do with genetics, and no, I'm not referring to Melba Ketchum's study of DNA that she's been doing. Again, I don't know anything about that study. I haven't read it. I'm not sure exactly what they did, how they went about it, and so on and so forth. I haven't even seen an abstract on the paper, so I'm just going into the that subject in kind of a blind fashion. But what I have to share has more to do with actual facts of the situation. And here's the area coming up that I'm going to be hunting in at least a couple of weeks this summer. And you'll see on the top of that cliff there, that is where I believe we may find some serious evidence of a Bigfoot in western Maine. Where is it? I'm not going to tell you here. If you know where it is, please don't share that with the public, because I don't want that area to be overrun with wannabe hunters that are just looking out for a good time. And I don't want any hoaxers going through there, leaving fake tracks and all that stuff. So if you know where it is, please keep it to yourself. If you're interested in going on a hunt with me this summer, send me a PM, or go over to the Maine Bigfoot site over at Yahoo Groups. Now, I'll put some links down below And we'll see what we can get going for this year. Maybe we can find some serious evidence here. But that's just one of the places. There are some other. I've actually located on a map and plotted out where many of the stories that I've personally been investigating are, and have heard things about. And it's interesting to note that many of the sightings actually fall in a rather large circle. It's actually, if you were to follow them as the crow flies, you'd be looking at a circle that is has a circumference of hundreds of miles around. But I think that if my theory is correct, that these Bigfoot that we hear about from time to time in central and western Maine actually follow that route as they migrate and follow the food sources. Approximately, depending upon how the weather is, as the time I do this video, I'm approximately maybe 6 weeks out from beginning to collect the evidence that I need to prove my theory. I did find some footprints last year along the Androscoggin River. I won't tell you exactly where it is here. That you may have seen in a couple of the other videos that I've done earlier. And I found these prints near a freshwater mollusk bed in a river. And I believe that what this Bigfoot may have been doing is going downriver, collecting all of the aquatic protein that he could. He skirted the communities, gone around through another waterway, and gone up through across the rivers into an area where another Maine Bigfooter, Bill Brock, you might have heard of him or seen his videos. He's got some interesting things going on where he's hunting the what he likes to call the Durham gorilla in Bowden, Maine, that area. And I think this may be the same creature that I have found evidence for. And if it is, then that means that we're on the trail of the same thing. So all the more luck to whoever finds him first. But I have a suspicion where we might be able to find him this coming summer, after the flood waters settle down and the weather starts to get warmer. But that'll be then. Again, I have several hunts that I have planned this summer, and I think I'm going to cut this video short a little bit here. All you're going to see here is, again, more roadway of state of Maine in the western mountains. I'm not going to divulge the exact location, again, for the very purpose that I do not want people that are just looking for a good time to trample all over the areas where I'm going to be hunting in. I have dubious permissions from various people to travel across various properties in my pursuits, and I don't want to have strangers coming along and destroying that what little permission that I do have. You get into certain areas, and especially in rural Maine, where people tend to be, somewhat skeptical and also private. They don't like to have their properties invaded by hordes of people that are looking for something that in their mind doesn't exist. So you have to approach this very carefully and make sure that what you're doing is legal. Make sure that it is in good taste. Make sure that you don't destroy anybody's property, especially. And use a little bit of wisdom as you're hunting this elusive creature of the woods. And it's about all for today. And we'll see you on my next Bigfoot Tales video. And in that one, I'm actually going to be sharing some of my actual encounters, including a sighting that I had several years ago up in the Belgrade area. And until then, enjoy and